Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Liberal White Dudes. I am Andrew,
I'm AJ.
and we are Liberal White Dudes. We're going to go ahead and have Jared come off mute for this episode, which is weird, but it's a
Maybe just
little
for this one,
different.
though.
Yeah, I'll put in I'm Jared
Jeremy.
in post.
Yeah, I forget that this app has you come in automatically muted. Big brain.
We are going to start a little bit about the sedition and treason currently happening in our country. AJ, if you want to read off some of those names.
I would like to actually. Just in case you're wondering who are our current, and I mean very current, like as of right this moment, enemies of democracy. Essentially, we got Ted Cruz of Texas, Ron Johnson, Wisconsin, James Langford of Oklahoma, Steve Daines of Montana, John Kennedy of Louisiana, Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee, Mike Braun of Indiana, Cynthia Loomis of Wyoming, Roger Marshall of Kansas, Bill Haggerty of Tennessee, Tommy Tuberville of Alabama. How does that guy get elected with that name? And Josh Hawley of Missouri. So, congratulations. I can't wait to see what history says about you 20 years from
Staggeringly
now.
long list.
Yeah, so
Yep.
those are all U.S. senators who are wanting to overturn their election results.
Yep.
It is nuts. I mean, a lot of these guys
golly.
don't get enough press. Ted Cruz gets a lot of press, because he ran for president, and of course, the things that he said about Trump in that campaign should always be running on loop in everybody's
Definitely.
mind. As far as him being a liar and all of the
Yeah.
complimentary things he
No
said
one's
about
more
him.
than Trump, though. Definitely more. No one more than Trump.
Yeah. But yeah, currently pushing for overturning the election results.
I mean, that's how you get authoritarians.
Yeah.
That's exactly how you get authoritarians, is you decide that election terms don't matter anymore.
Yep.
That's how every
Right.
authoritarian dictator has done that.
It's right out of the playbook.
They get democratic. It's the fascist playbook. He gets elected and then democratically,
It's
and
the
then you just go.
it's the flea flicker of the fascist playbook. It's in every one of them.
It's in every single one.
There's a good football reference for all our sports fans in the audience.
Yeah, all the bros.
Yep.
Yeah, see, we're dudes.
We're dudes.
So that's the most recent, terrible news as far as politics are concerned. I'm not sure, and again, frequently just sit here and go, what do we do about this? You see the Proud Boy protests and those rallies, going on and people threatening violence and then leaders. People are supposed to be leaders of this country, basically encouraging that through misinformation and messaging that is unrelated to reality.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
And it's gotten
Yeah, it's
so
bad-
far detached.
Yeah, bad enough not to come out and condemn that, but to come out in support of it is, to me, just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we're living in an alternate timeline. I really never thought I'd see this kind of politics in the U.S. I really mean that.
They went radio silent between election day and electoral college day, thinking that maybe the messaging would change, I guess, from the top down once the electoral college voted, and there were zero faithless electors, and it was clear to those who maybe it wasn't clear to, who had clearly won the clear election that was clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Couldn't make that any more clear, guys.
I feel like I need to add it. Go ahead.
The other thing to me too is that it's just been so much. I mean, obviously I think we've talked about this before, but it's so much moving the stakes, so much like, oh, until this day, this will be, just wait until this, just wait until this, just wait till you see the election results, wait until you see how many votes get counted, and then it's like, oh well, wait till you see the electoral college vote when those votes get counted because those ones matter more, and then they're like, okay, now wait for our coup.
Yeah, I mean,
That
it's
we're
Kraken.
they're like, wait until
Yeah.
you hear what Mitch McConnell has to say, and he's like, Biden won. And they're like, well, but Attorney General Barr, wait till what he has to say. He's like, I mean, Biden won, and I'm out of here, whatever. And it's just like, well, wait until
Jesus.
just find another idiot to step up, right? And right now it's Ted Cruz leading a group of senators against
Yep.
the head of the GOP. I'm hoping those senators break off from the Republican Party,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
me
was gonna
too.
say that's one thing
form your own group, and get
I'm
primaried.
that's one thing at this point I'm not bummed about them pushing. I just have really enjoyed watching Trump just throw grenades on the Georgia runoffs. I mean, it's just been spectacular to hear,
Yeah,
you know,
he is.
Republican voters saying they don't want to come out and vote because they don't trust the system. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
do
good.
Yeah. Don't trust
Continue
it.
to
Yeah.
disenfranchise racist white people. Um,
jeez.
I'm all for that. I would have said coming into this that I was not for disenfranchisement and that everyone should vote and all that. But there are
Right.
a subsect of folks.
Yeah,
Um,
if you're a racist white, or if you're a racist person, I'm okay if you don't get out and vote. To be
yeah,
honest, so
especially
yeah,
if that's your number one
Racists,
issue.
stay
yeah,
home.
Yep.
right.
Put that on a poster.
Put up, yeah,
Racists, stay
billboards
home.
in Georgia with like, yeah, Uncle Sam pointing.
Yeah.
That could work.
um,
Ad campaign right there.
our main story tonight, our topic of discussion is taxes. Um, they say there's two things in the world that you can count on: death and taxes. You pay taxes every time you buy something. You pay taxes every time you fill up your car. Taxes are passed on to you, sometimes more than once. You get
Yeah.
taxed on something and then you get taxed on it again. There's just lots and lots of taxes. Um,
From beyond the grave, even.
yeah, they'll tax you when you're dead.
They will.
But there are some fundamental misunderstandings. When AOC, to
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to be specific. Sorry.
drop her name mid-show,
Yeah.
was talking about a 71% tax rate. That was taken by a lot of folks and used out of context for all those people in the United States who misunderstand how taxes work.
Right.
We're not going to pay 71% of our money to taxes.
Yeah,
You're
no.
not going
Right.
to. Nobody that's watching this will. Ever.
No. No.
That's not even what's being proposed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think people must understand too the difference between the thing is that the taxation that would happen through a lot of the, you know, Democratic Socialists' plans comes from people that are very, very high percentage. You know,
Yeah,
like
very,
that's where it
very
goes.
ultra wealthy.
Yeah.
It's you can't conceive of that kind of money. But
Right.
we're saying, like, hey, so, as an example, so over the last couple of years, the super rich have paid a smaller effective tax rate even than other folks. Warren Buffett is quoted as saying he paid a smaller effective tax rate than his secretary, which is atrocious. It's one of the reasons he said,
Right.
you should tax me more. And I agree with him.
Mhm.
He's like, take more of my money, please.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at things
Yeah.
like, providing for a year of services for, this was a specific story that I read for domestic abuse survivors, taking $300 million, which is a drop in the bucket for our U.S. government system, right?
Mhm.
It's even a drop in the bucket compared to $1.5 billion being spent on the wall outside of the, most recent, tax package. So
Yeah.
it is a
Yeah.
drop in the bucket to Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos could fund that. And the fact that they're having to run these fundraisers and really try and create that money when the money to do that exists. Who in our country is
Yeah.
against helping
Right.
domestic abuse survivors?
And putting that burden on the community, begging
Yeah.
regular people that make regular wages, pleading to them, and obviously, like everyone else in this program, we have probably donated to those before, maybe even when it probably didn't really work great for our budget at that moment because we're decent humans. But that burden ends up falling on us, and it just to speak to a little bit what you guys touched on earlier. I mean, we live in a country that has a yacht tax. But these same people have the audacity to call a stimulus check a handout.
Yes.
And it's like,
Oh.
we have a yacht tax in this country, and it's a handout to help those in need, you can GTFO right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk in the Twitterverse about how Nikki Haley, as an example, is talking about how some people who don't deserve it will be getting a $2,000 check if we just hand
Jesus
out
Christ.
$2,000 checks. And here's the thing, from her mansion, she
Yeah,
says that
right.
there's people who don't deserve $2,000. If you hit everyone who needs it, and maybe I want to go as high as maybe 30-40%. I don't know, maybe 50% of the people who receive it,
Sure.
don't need it, but you've hit everybody who needs it.
Right.
Fine.
Win.
You're
Win
still
in
in
my book.
budget. You're still in
And you're
budget,
still,
guys.
yeah,
When you look at what
exactly.
we're talking about here, we're
Yeah.
talking about our
And
Just on
honestly,
its
citizens.
it should come
own.
out of Nikki Haley's pocket.
Yeah, there you go. But on
Agreed.
its own, it's one of those things where it's
I
like,
agree.
I feel like a lot of people miss this because everybody that's against that sort of thing is so consistent in their messaging against it. Is that it's like, well, the moochers and the people that aren't pulling themselves up by the bootstraps or whatever. They're like, it's like
Right.
that, right? Those people exist. We know those people exist, and
Sure.
I agree with you. Those people suck, but does it outweigh the people that you're saving? I think no. I think not at all.
No. And it's the
Yeah.
message is always to people on that side who are like, I don't want my tax money going towards that. It's like, it's not. Your tax money is
Right.
absolutely not going towards that.
Yeah,
Like
Right.
your
never.
tax money is almost nothing. There's accounting errors inside of the government that account for your tax money. I
Yeah.
know, and it's a
Right.
lot of your money because you pay a higher effective tax rate than
Right.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. And
It's
Jeff
like-
Be
Bezos.
upset about
Yeah.
this.
yeah, I mean, quick numbers
Yeah.
just to try and put in perspective what an effective tax rate means and what a progressive
Sure.
tax rate means, because I think that's where part of the misunderstanding comes is if you're making $50,000 a year and you pay 20% of your income in taxes, that means that you're paying $10,000 a year, right? For your income, that's a lot of money. Your discretionary
Yeah.
spending, where you hit the level that you're living okay, and it being able to provide for your family, and then what amount of that is discretionary, whereas now you're pitching, this much into the government. Whereas if someone makes, let's say, $1 million in a year and they pay, the same effective tax rate, or even if they pay more, let's say they pay 25% of their taxes, they're paying $250,000, which is a lot of money, right? But they're still
Yeah.
left
Right,
with
certainly.
$750,000. So if you say that after, let's say, $40,000 a year, the rest is discretionary spending, they've got $710,000 worth of discretionary spending, and you've got zero.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. Well, and even you can even take it a step further with I mean, even numbers like that are low in comparison to, say, Senator Warren's wealth tax proposal. Because when we're talking wealth tax, we're talking if you make less than $50 million, shut up, please.
Yeah,
Well, that's not who we're talking to.
yeah, and
All right,
that's
you're not
almost everybody.
right, exactly. It's almost everyone. So, and then even then, we're only talking your wealth beyond that 50 million.
Yeah.
So if you made $60 million, you're only getting taxed on 10 million in terms of the wealth tax percentage rate, which is 2% in the proposal. Not a lot. And then it's not until you get to $1 billion that you reach the next tier of 3%. I mean, we're talking minuscule numbers to these billionaires.
Yeah, and the
And
number of
all the
people that I
that are
see. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm probably going to make the point you were just going to make. Go ahead.
Yeah, the people that
that-
I see coming out against this will never be
Right.
affected by it and are trying to protect the millionaires who aren't raising their wages. It's like you are protecting both a system and a people who do not care about you, don't care for you. Like
Again,
they don't
Right.
at all.
Steve's thing. They don't care if you die.
Yeah.
And that's the whole, like that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Till
Shout
there's
out to Steve. That's true.
Yep.
shout out to
I
Steve
need a
every
graphic for
episode.
that. And now
Yeah,
I have
every-
one, as you can see, right
Yeah, there it is.
there.
Somewhere. Somewhere. It's one of those things too to me where it's like if you don't, I think it's because people think that they're at some point going to be millionaires.
Which is great.
They've got, which is I think it's good in the sense that it drives
yeah.
business and entrepreneurship in that sort of way. But in the same way, it's like, but also be aware of the fact that policies that are put in place to protect regular people should still matter to you, because like the
Because
fact
you're
that you
gonna
may
be regular people.
someday be,
Right.
you know, someday you may be a millionaire doesn't mean we shouldn't also make it so that millionaires are helping society. You
Yeah.
know, like there's a reason that regulations exist on sort of on those sorts of things and on anything like like driving. Like there's so many regulations on driving, and people that children who can't drive still benefit from those things.
Yeah.
You know, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, millionaires are fine too. Like that's not even where the cutoff is, or where the
Yeah.
real taxation starts. It's really tens of millions, and by then every dollar is already worthless to that person. The amount of money that they pay for someone to go get them a sandwich, is a year's salary for
Right.
somebody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
No, it's
just don't have to
insane.
know.
And
Yeah.
I think another facet to it as well, Jared, I know you mentioned one side of the argument would be like, some of those people may aspire to reach that level of wealth, the $50 million level, or
Mm.
even the $1 million level, and think that in some way this is going to hurt them down the road. I think the more likely scenario in most of these cases, sadly, is it just really is more about their own prejudices, and in a lot of ways, to
Yeah.
that whole class of people, in a way, that the whole pulling it up by your bootstraps, making your own way. I mean, like you said, Andrew, a lot of the people that rail against something like a wealth tax would only benefit from a wealth tax, would never see
Yes.
that, the other side of that. Yet they rail against it because deep down, I think in a lot of cases they don't mind, I guess, so much the disparity between them and an ultra billionaire, just so long as the other class of people, and in a lot of cases maybe the other race of people, the other group of people, don't have. I mean, I think that's a sad truth.
Yeah.
It
There's
really
a
is.
there's a also
Keeping
a
those
constant
communities,
argument that those people have earned it. As though
right.
somehow, as though at some point you've earned $1 billion. And I'm not even someone who has a problem with billionaires. Like, I like the idea
Right.
that there's billionaires. I like the idea that you
Right.
can amass $1 billion in our country, just because to me that's
Yeah.
just a ridiculous sum of money that's so silly.
Yeah.
But it also
Right.
gives us all kind of yeah, billionaires, but also pay half that in taxes.
Yeah, and it's so weird too because it's like what like
Yeah.
I think there is a certain point where you stop earning your money,
Yeah,
where you
well, your
stop
money
like
earns money.
Oh, well, certainly.
to a
Yeah.
degree. It's like yeah, Jeff Bezos earned his money to a degree, right? He
Sure.
founded a business that is
Yeah.
really successful, and
Yep.
he's got he's got business practices, and the and it's one of those things where it's like okay, you have the right to that sort of thing, but at a certain point the amount of money that you have can affect our entire society en masse, and I think that should be an issue. I think people should be like, okay, we need like, why do you need all of that money?
Yeah, I mean
Why
he
can't we be
made he
doing
made
more?
billions of dollars last year, of course. And even if you're a
Right.
crappy investor, you can make 4% a year. 4% on $1 billion is $40 million.
Yeah,
Forty
Yeah.
million dollars can do a lot of good in our society. That's $1 billion at terrible investing, doing nothing, providing no
Yeah.
services, not helping a single soul. That you just made $40 million, and most people in this country can't even conceive of what $40 million looks like. Um,
No,
you
not even
know,
a fraction of that.
no.
Yeah.
the
So
numbers just get so big. It
yeah,
gets to a point where it's so hard to even like conceptualize how
Yeah.
much money
It
that
gets to a,
really
a
is.
stupid amount, a
yeah,
silly amount.
it really is. And
Uh,
the thing is,
yeah.
the $1 billion that I'm talking about, like Bezos doesn't even care about that.
Yeah,
Like
No, why should he?
$1 billion to him is a small percentage of his net worth. And that billion
Right.
dollars is going to make $40 million, even if he invests it terribly. And he's invested in Amazon, which is pretty good, actually.
Right.
so here's
But
just
here-
a
yeah.
concept math, just because I was interested. If you were to buy, if you were spending $1 million on hot and ready pizzas for $5, you'd buy 200,000 hot and ready pizzas.
There you go.
Just as a concept. That's how much money
Little
that is.
Caesars
That's
is not a
200,000
sponsor.
dinners. No, Little Caesars is not a sponsor. It's 200,000
They could be,
dinners
though.
for pizza.
Yeah. Additional disclaimer: I am long in Amazon. You're supposed to say that. I wasn't given financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Whatever.
Right.
Neither pushing
Yeah.
hot and ready pizzas from Little Caesars, which we do enjoy.
We do enjoy them, but
Yeah.
again, not a sponsor.
Or
Not
Amazon
sponsored
stuff.
by them.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, I support a wealth tax, and I think that it's silly to me that your average citizen can't look at numbers like this, and just see how ridiculous it is, how utterly ridiculous it is, and how a wealth tax again would only benefit everyone.
Yeah.
And as far as who it affects in terms of financially, I mean, look at the numbers. We're not affecting them, right?
Yeah.
If you knew you could give a couple dollars out of your account, a few cents out of your account in some cases, to change millions of people's lives, would you be like, nah? They are. They're saying
that's
nah.
exactly
saying
what they're
no.
saying. They're saying they don't want billionaires to have to do that.
Yeah, because you're not even the one doing it. You will never have to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll never have to
Promise
do that. And here's the thing.
Or I promise to you,
Yeah.
never.
Yeah, you're not going to have to do that. Nobody that watches this show, including you, Jeff, who tuned in specifically for this episode because it's about taxes, will ever have to do that. Yeah, and the wealth gap is, just continuing to grow and grow and grow. And the number of people who, have just astronomical wealth, and should a Walmart worker have to be on government subsidies to just take care of their family while the Waltons make another $1 billion?
No.
No.
The answer is no.
Just
It should
feels
be
like no.
unequivocally no. Everyone should answer no.
Yeah.
Just because we're one of the most, we're one of the wealthiest countries. We're a superpower.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have this
Let's
issue
figure it
in
out.
such a large, such mass that we do. We shouldn't have this problem at the level that we do. And I think in a lot of ways it comes from, our very individualistic kind of ideals. Not to say that I don't value individualism as a thing, but I think in a lot of ways we have incentivized being, the whole bootstraps, pull yourself up by your bootstraps instead of working together.
Yeah, we're
I
not a
think it's caused
community.
lot of
I
issues
mean,
that way.
Steve was,
Yeah.
making that point on that show as well, is that we don't see ourselves as a community of Americans. Well, and especially not now, now that we're split down
Well,
the middle
yeah, not
based
now.
on dumb lies and all kinds of nonsense. But, I will say to all of the people who believe the dumb lies and the nonsense, we still want you to have a better life as well. The math supports being
Yeah.
able to lower taxes on you. Yes, you.
Yeah,
Lower
right.
your taxes and still provide you with better infrastructure, better roads, better healthcare, better literally everything, and lower your taxes. That exists. That's a
Yeah.
possibility.
It so does. And even just keeping your taxes the same, we could do that stuff.
Yeah.
If we just reprioritize what we spend our tax money on, we
Well,
could do
even
exactly
and,
that.
and also raise taxes on those who absolutely would not. It would not change
Bat
their
an eye.
style of life at all.
Yeah.
Would not change
Yeah.
the way that their trajectory goes. Would not change that they're billionaires. Wouldn't change any of
Yeah.
that.
I know that Warren Buffett and Bill Gates both have pretty good stuff to say about that. I appreciate those gentlemen, based on that policy. And one of the things too is that I feel like in some ways, some CEOs like Bill Gates specifically, he has a lot of like charity stuff that he does.
Yeah,
I
Bill
feel
and
like
Melinda
that's-
Gates Foundation.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, that is the type of thing that is awesome. And I think everybody agrees that, right? Nobody
Yeah.
thinks that Bill Gates' charity process is dumb and that he shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, but if it was the government,
But if it was the government,
Right.
then that's socialism and you're a
well,
commie. And
yeah, that's the thing is people don't want to be forced to donate to causes that don't directly benefit them, even though that's what all of their taxes are. That's what
that's
they
what
all
every
are.
tax they ever do is.
Yeah.
All their taxes.
Yep.
Maybe they just don't want to ever pay taxes. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
They want to pay
well, and here's
zero
the
taxes.
thing: a lot of them shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
The
probably-
the minimum income that has to pay taxes could be raised. The math supports being able to do more with our government, with less of our citizenry having to pay taxes. If you close
Yeah.
corporate loopholes, and we're not giving away, hundreds of millions of dollars, and actually Bernie Sanders, who, yeah, I
Mhm.
get it. He's a boogeyman. Any moderates or conservatives who are watching our program, sorry.
Sorry for
As he
mentioning him.
leaps out of the closet and says, "Hello,"
Ooh.
or
Call upon him to angrily smash an old man desk.
yes. Uh, but but recently, on the Senate floor, talked about the hundreds of millions of dollars we've given to successful companies, including Amazon, who don't pay taxes, but also got an additional $150 million tax credit. It's like, is that the way our government should work? Is that the way our country
What
should
a goofy way
function?
of doing that. What a
You know,
goofy. This is a functioning, successful business, and you give them $170 million. That's tax money. Take that
America
back.
has some of
Fix some
the
roads.
most successful companies of all time in the last 2 decades,
Yeah.
due to the internet boom being primarily centered in Silicon Valley in California.
Mm.
And, you know, Apple, Google, I mean, people know these
Right.
companies, right? I probably don't have to list them.
Mm.
But in addition to that, wages are stagnant, and people have trouble affording their health care, and a certain percentage of Americans, which the chat can help me out with what that percentage is, could not handle a surprise $400 bill. If they got a surprise bill for $400, they would be in trouble financially. um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
It's just silly. And
Agreed.
one of the things, too, that I think is so odd to me is that people hate socialized healthcare so much, because of tax money. They're like, oh, but it would raise my taxes. It's like, no, it wouldn't ever have to, actually.
Yeah.
Well,
And the
with
money
You
you
proposals
would
like this,
never
it
see this
wouldn't.
issue.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, and the money you're currently paying your employer, through your employer for health insurance would go away.
Yeah, you just wouldn't see it. If we just did if we did a wealth tax and then used that money to pay for the healthcare system, you would never pay a dime for it, and it would really really benefit you because you wouldn't have a potentially life-ending financial crisis on your hands whenever you get some tetanus.
Yeah,
I
Like
I
that's a
encourage
very
anybody
common one. I'm
watching.
glad you used
Yeah.
that one.
yeah,
I encourage anyone watching this
Tetanus
though, go
bankruptcy.
and look it up. Go look it up. Look at the numbers and see how much we could do with so little in the grand scheme. When you think in terms of a wealth tax,
Yeah,
just get away from the scary notions about what that would mean for you as a citizen. Again, nothing. It would mean nothing to you but benefit. But look at the numbers. I mean, it's astounding.
yeah. It
I
affects people that
am.
make $50 million and $1 and more.
Yeah,
Not you.
not you. Um,
Not you.
yeah, I wonder what the number is to fund every GoFundMe that's currently going.
Yeah,
Like,
that'd
what's
be an
that
interesting.
number?
Be interesting math.
Yeah, somebody look it up. I just like
Yeah,
giving my
the
next
audience
show.
homework.
Yeah. Bring this back to me.
Thanks for
I need it
tuning
the
in,
next
and
20 minutes.
also look this up for me. I don't want to have to.
Be sure to study for your quiz.
LLWD.
Every next Saturday, we'll bring up these questions again and hope you have the answers.
Yes.
You better have the answers.
Stop not having the answers. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just we. I feel like the other side really needs to think about taxes and what they pay in taxes and think of it a little bit differently. Now, I think, yeah, we're reading A Promised Land, and I hate to be influenced by, Obama's words, because again,
President
leaps from the
Obama.
closet and scares
Yeah.
old
The
ladies or
Obama
whatever.
boogeyman.
But we're in a fundamental agreement that most Americans, want to work hard, earn a living wage, come home to their family, put food on their family,
Yeah.
as Bush,
Put food on
Yeah,
their
put it
family.
on them, on
yeah,
their faces.
as George W. Bush would say, and
Yeah.
and get up the next day and do the same thing, and feel like they're earning their way in the world, and they want everybody else doing the same thing. You also earn your spot, right? Um,
All people fundamentally want.
yeah,
And
and
I
we
think
can
it's
all do
interesting
that, but we
too.
just have it be better.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that
More better
there's
good.
people
Yeah,
that
more better good.
good. Exactly. I think it's weird that people that are so bent on that whole, but there will be people that are benefiting from it without doing the things. It's
Having
like
earned it as if
yeah,
that's some sort of thing they could quantify
Yeah.
and define on an individual basis.
that you should earn that you should earn the right
to live.
to live and not have to lose all of your money because of because of your tetanus bankruptcy.
Yeah. Hashtag tetanus bankruptcy.
Hashtag tetanus bankruptcy. But this is a thing that people are so concerned, like that they're just so concerned that there will be some people.
Jared,
that
if that ends up
mooching.
happening to a lot of people are going to come back to this and say
Yeah,
this is where it
like
began.
Nostradamus over here.
Yeah, I'm predicting a 2021 event.
Viral
Viral
tetanus.
tetanus bankruptcy.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things to me that's so odd because it's like, yes, I agree, those people suck, but at the
Yeah.
same time, the fact, like even on it, you will never have to pay a medical bill again.
Yeah. And don't you want that for your kids? Think of the children.
Think of the children
Think of the children, guys.
and the women
Yeah.
and the women and the children. Think of them,
You know,
please.
the only people who deserve lifeboats. Think
Exactly.
of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Not on this program.
Ladies and young ladies. That's it.
On this program, it's lifeboats for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Pro everyone
Squint.
lifeboats.
Yeah, and part of that, you know, yeah, I mean, we just weigh that against, again, the number of people getting it who, quote, don't deserve it. And I know people in my personal life who I'm like, really? You're getting some of my tax dollars? You know?
Yeah.
You're an able-bodied person who is, you know,
Blowing it.
yeah, just
blowing
basically
it.
getting free money and taking it from programs from people who need it. However, I will fund that person for the rest of their life, meaning that that program exists so that people who need it still get it. And
Yeah.
the amount of bureaucracy to find that person that I'm talking about is not worth that money. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
that's
No,
part
it's
of,
it's a shallow and rickety excuse to stand on.
yeah,
Deny millions and millions and millions of citizens the resources that they need, just because of the reality that can and will happen inevitably. Is a really, really lame way to defend that. Like,
And every
that's
time
really
you
your only
tighten the
argument.
net,
Then
and every time you tighten the net on who can get it and all that, it costs more executively.
yeah, because the government's not good at anything.
No,
You know, that
so
is
bad.
that's
Right.
that is one of my fundamental beliefs, that they're not good at anything. But if you're like, hey, in order to receive welfare, you have to take a drug test, you have to prove that you've been looking for work, you have to not buy steak and lobster. You know, there's this list of all these things, you know, because there's the judgment at the store. You see those posts sometimes where people are like, this guy used his food stamps to get lobster. You know,
Right.
what?
Oh, no.
He's using my tax dollars. It's not your tax dollars. We'll get back,
No.
you know. Anyway, that's
Yeah.
not your tax dollars, but okay. You know, 40% of taxes are paid by the top 1% as we currently sit here. So those aren't your tax dollars. Your tax
Yeah.
dollars fill the pothole, and that's awesome. Thank you for contributing. Anyway, back to that list of things. If you have this long list of things for people to get that government assistance, you have just spent $50,000 so that person can get $1,000 a week to, you know, try and live while they are, you know, either working to be a better member of society or not.
Or
But
not.
but there's such a swath of people who really need the help. You know, I'm not, again, I said 50% at the top of the show. It might even be 90%. If 90% of the people who are getting the help don't need it, I think I'm still fine with that. So
Yeah,
that there's
still
a
at
safety net
10%.
for that 10% who, you know, through circumstances cannot get by in our society. We help them out.
Because there's no
Agreed.
downside to that. There is no downside to helping people into the community, giving them the standing to build themselves economically. Because even just from a pure economic standpoint, having more bodies in an active market makes that market bigger. So if your whole thing is like, well, I'm a, you know, money, that's what I want is money and money people and money, then, you know, then
Accurate.
that's good for us. It's still good for us, because then guess what? That person moves up the ladder, and you know what happens when they move up the ladder? Start paying taxes.
Yeah. Well, and that
More
whole
money for the
thing too
government.
is that money that gets shot out there to those folks, it goes right back into the economy.
Yep.
There's not
It's-
people
yep.
pocketing it and saving it. Even the people that I know that are living on those types of programs when maybe they don't need to are still kicking that money back into society. I mean, into the economy. It's still
Yeah.
money that gets printed from the government, handed off to a person, shoved into goods and services, You know, 50% of that goes to Bezos, and then we all,
Hmm.
you know, move on.
Yeah, right.
We all move on with
Yeah.
our lives. Yeah, and I guess it's an interesting thing to me as well that people don't realize how little their money is actually in the grand scheme of taxes,
Yeah.
like how little your tax rate is to actually paying for anything.
Yeah. You
Like how little
maybe
effect you have on
bought
that.
a hammer, but it's on a payment plan. You know,
Yeah,
once you pay taxes for the
yeah.
next 5 years, you will have supplied
You will
a
paid for
hammer.
a 20, like, yeah, a hammer for some guy who fixes, public roofing.
And yeah, and
Like
the
that's your
contract for
job.
hammers, by the way, went to the lowest bidder. So the hammer's not even a very good hammer
Yeah, it's also a bad hammer.
because the
You have
government
funded,
sucks at doing things.
The
yeah,
worst hammer.
you
Yeah.
funded the worst payment plan for a hammer for a roofer that does public buildings. That's what you paid for.
Yeah.
You
And
didn't
that's
pay for
fine.
somebody's
And
entire
thank
welfare.
you. You know, thank you for
Yes, and thank
contributing.
you for doing that. Right.
But you know, less of regressive taxes like taxes on gas and taxes on, you know, just sales tax. It's a regressive tax. It hits poor people harder than it hits rich people.
Yeah,
Why?
exactly.
Why do we,
Why do we
you
even do
know,
that?
I think everybody, yes, should you know, chip in, but there is a certain point where every dollar that you make is no longer has the same value as the dollar that guy just made because that guy really needs that dollar for something.
Yeah, the people that need that $5 hot and ready pizza probably will
Yeah, now
benefit
I
more
want
than
one.
you. Yeah, probably benefit more than you, who can buy 200,000 of them with $1 million. Like maybe like if we just gave all those people $5 for dinner one night, that's 1 million people fed one night. Like that's nuts. Or 200,000 people, sorry. But still, like that's nuts as a number. The fact that you can just like hold that amount of money and then be like, well, I don't want to pay taxes on that. Pardon me, more taxes? Come on. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. It becomes a point where it seems like there's a greed barrier that overcomes the societal needs for money, because there will always be a societal need for money. And I think being in the richest country, one of the richest countries on the planet, seems like we shouldn't have a poverty issue, like kind of in general.
Right.
Yeah.
It
We
seems
should
like our
have a higher
poverty,
standard of living.
yeah, our base standard of
Commensurate
living
with
should be really high,
yeah.
because
Commensurate
duh.
with how much wealth there is in the country. This seems pretty straightforward.
Exactly. It seems like that's how that should work. It seems like one should benefit the other, but because of the way that we do it, it doesn't really. Having one person get super rich or have a bunch of people get super rich even, it doesn't benefit the country really for us. It does in some ways, but
Who
in other ways it really doesn't.
who watched Robin Hood as a kid and like commiserated with Prince John?
Yeah. It was like, no, 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 hold on. That's
One of
Prince
his
John's
small
money.
chests of gold was taken by that thieving fox.
He earned that money. Are you kidding
I
me?
like how you went with the Disney one. There were
Oh,
like
yeah,
nine
obviously.
Robin Hoods.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
And I'm
Disney
not talking
Robin
about
Hood.
Kevin Costner here. Obviously, I
Kevin
get being
Costner,
anti
Prince of Thieves.
Kevin Costner's Robin Hood because I'm pro Alan Rickman.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm more of the sheriff in that one.
Yes,
It's
thank you.
complicated.
I get being, anti Errol Flynn or, but
Sure.
but the Disney one, the Fox, come on.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just think it's so odd. It's so odd that people. And the thing is, I think fundamentally, a lot of people, the Robin Hood thing is dope. I don't think that I don't think most people would disagree with what Robin Hood is doing, and the fact that we hate it when we have to do it for the government's sake is so weird. It's
Yeah.
like it's the same. It's the same thing.
yeah, for your fellow man. They're like, wait a second. I do
Yeah.
think it is about people feeling like the government, because the government currently takes so much of your money. I mean, when
Yeah.
you work a crap job and you see your paycheck and you see how much of it gets taken out by the government, it's just like, whoa. Then you start looking at what the government spends that money on, and you see somebody else who that's the person that person is being spent on by the government. You are currently putting into this system. That person's currently taking out of it, and you just go, "Hey, why am I sitting here with a cucumber when they're getting grapes?" Right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I understand. I understand being sour on the whole thing. Like that makes sense to me. I understand where that comes from, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be that way.
no,
And when you put up candidates and you put up senators and you put up congressmen and congresswomen that are like, hey, we don't want to tax rich people
because we are rich people.
because we are rich people, you're creating that situation for yourself. You're putting yourself in a perpetual loop of paying more taxes and still paying for that guy's stuff, but not even really well. It's kind of one of the things is that yeah, there are people mooching off the system, but it's not a great existence.
No, it's really
And
not.
I feel like it should be, which I don't. And as much as I hate those people, I still feel like our basic standard, if you're because of our wealth, should be still pretty good.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe not well off, but something to get you started,
I was
something to keep up.
I was against Andrew Yang's universal basic income for a lot of different reasons, and that in some ways it doesn't make economic sense if everybody has $1,000.
Yeah,
$1,000 becomes worthless, right?
Creates inflation. Yeah.
However, during this pandemic and when so many people are hurting and all that kind of thing, it makes sense to, hey, I don't know, like maybe every other industrialized nation. Uh,
Lose AJ.
I'm back. Sorry.
yeah, put some money out there, help some folks out. If you need to call it a stimulus check so that it's not called socialism or welfare, cool. Use
Yeah.
different words, Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
Just continue to be pro-socialism. Don't call it socialism
don't call
if
it
that
socialism,
makes you
yeah.
uncomfortable. But
If
yes,
the term socialism is a boogeyman for you, don't call it that, but still do it because because that stuff is important. I feel like it's so weird too because it's the $2,000 for people that need it. It's like that, especially after 8 months of not, since what was it, April or May? Since then, like we need, people need
yeah, people
money
need money to
still.
live,
People need
including
money to
landlords. I
live.
mean, there's all kinds of things this administration could have done and could be doing to take a look at all of the economic devastation that this pandemic has caused. Hopefully, the new incoming administration will do so.
Yeah,
That's a whole
and
thing.
not to sympathize with the with the people that you pay rent to, but they're landlords need money too, and I know that people are real upset right now for a lot of reasons. Because yeah, people getting evicted at this time, that's terrible. You shouldn't be
Yeah,
left out to
out
dry
in the
right
street
now.
where
But at the same,
everybody
but
has COVID.
but also, you've got a lot of landlords who don't have money. That's their income is your rent.
Yep.
So we need a way to subsidize those things right now because
figure it out.
we can't reasonably expect that every single person will be able to pay their rent right now, which means that every single landlord will be negatively affected by that, and every single individual person also not having money will be very negatively affected by that.
Yeah.
So we just need to get those people money right now until we can function like we're supposed to, and when they can start picking their bootstraps up.
All right. So as far as taxing the rich, I'm going to give it four out of five figs for taxing the rich.
5 whole figs for me. Let's do it.
Oh yeah, same.
One
5 figs
one
for
out of
sure.
5 figs for taxes, though, just in the general sense.
As a concept. Yeah.
I don't like taxes. Um,
No.
I want to apologize to AOC.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
We did not get her on again in the Zoom
How's that
waiting room,
possible?
but ran out of time.
Yeah.
It happens.
It does
It
happen.
does.
I'll send her another greeting card for my condolences.
Yeah.
But
So maybe
thank you.
maybe a towel, maybe a DVR. Depends.
Remember, we're here every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can like us on Facebook, and you can follow us on Twitter. 6 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you once again, everyone. Night. Liberal white dude.